Hello everybody, welcome to the Smart Working Forum hosted by Cardinus Risk Management and our partners Osmond Ergonomics. I think it's fairly safe to say that the vast majority of us are comfortable with the concept of home working. I mean, we've been doing it for such a long time now. But even so, we've still got quite a few organisations that are yet to get their policies and procedures in place to support this kind of remote working environment. And while this is going on, the wheels of progress have still been turning, and we're seeing that the home working principles are now starting to evolve into the more broader set of smart working principles. And I think there's a number of reasons for this change, and I think probably none more so than finance. I think financial pressures nowadays are forcing a real speed of change in our particular industry. So when you start looking at some of the real estate savings that they can be making, and tie that into some of the energy and some of the travel savings that can be made as well, it makes for a hell of a proposition for some of these employers. But at the same time, what we need to be looking at are some of the control measures that we're implementing to make sure these big upturns are not going to be affected by the downturns of people who are feeling they're not supported or lack morale in this new kind of working environment. And so today, to address this, we've got some outstanding speakers for you.
I'm Guy Osmond, I'm Managing Director of Osmond Ergonomics, and we're the UK's most knowledgeable supplier of innovative products and services to improve workplace wellbeing and productivity. What we're really about doing is working with people such as yourselves, health and safety professionals, but also with OC Health, ergonomists and so forth, FMs, in the environment of dealing with absenteeism, presenteeism and productivity. So whether it's an individual with a back problem, a complete department who have particular issues about how they're operating. Ultimately, what we do is sell products to help you to address those issues. So the way we work is actually finding out what needs to be done and finding a way to do that. And as many of you probably know, quite often the outcome doesn't turn out to be what you thought it was going to be at the outset. So that's what we do. Peter can now introduce himself.
Thank you very much. My name is Peter Verdegaal. I'm from Bakker, Elkhuizen. We are a company who are developing and manufacturing ergonomic accessories. We are a company, we are developing ergonomic accessories on the top of the table, so no chairs, no tables. We are facing the solutions for the right posture behind any workstation. Doing it with a team of ergonomic specialists, and what we tend to do is each of our products is based on scientific research. What we also have learned that you can make a very good solution for your health, safety, etc. But if it is not looking very nicely, people are okay. They tend to buy it once, but it will finally end in a draw. So we try to put a lot of attention to the design. We try to make the products that have a good feel and look. And I have to try to put it in 6 drawings. This is our mission. This is, on the left side you can see the posture of a lot of people working behind a workstation, just with a laptop, or working with documents without a document holder, or with the wrong keyboard. If you know that if you are working a daily, approximately 20 minutes only behind a laptop without any help, it will cause damage, sure, in the future. And the same with documents. If you're working on a regular basis on documents, and you're working more than a half hour doing this during your working day, you will end having some problems in the future. We are making our products looking at our four themes. That is the fixed traditional workplace, everybody knows those. Then the flexible hot desking, as it's called in the UK. I think we are the world leader in the mobile solutions. I will show you later on what sort of solution I mean. And our most fast-growing market at the moment are in the demand for solutions. A lot of companies in Europe and as well on the beautiful island tend to downsize their amount of workplaces. Research have shown now that 45% up to 55% of the workplace in the bigger companies are empty during the days. So the half of all the workplaces are empty. So there's a lot of money to save. Then look at the current demand for home working for several other reasons, and we'll come into it later on. You can imagine that the demand is huge in demand for this particular solutions.
Okay, so what we're now going to do, we've introduced ourselves, we're going to talk a bit about the basics. We're going to focus principally on sort of home working issues because that's the hot topic of smart working, and I suppose in some ways it's perceived as the easiest to implement because most of your staff will have a home. We set up two very simple arrangements, one for a possible home working arrangement to demonstrate the adjustability that you could offer to your home workers to provide them with the facilities to accommodate most of your staff, whatever their physical sizes themselves, but also about their working environment at home. And then we've also got an optimised hot desking environment perhaps for your workplaces. So obviously the basics of smart working are to be working when you want, how you want, and where you want. And that obviously raises all manner of issues. Now, the when you want, first of all, is quite a significant one because some of us are good in the morning, some of us are much better much later in the day, some of us aren't really very good for most of the day, depending on how we're feeling and so forth. But the graph here, which is something that has come out of some work that Bakker have done, and if you're interested more about this, we can certainly send that on afterwards. But the Dutch have this lovely expression which they call the kappersuit moment, which is, you're all familiar with this, you come in, your performance grows as the morning goes in, you get going, you finish talking about the football or whatever it happens to be, you're into full pace up to mid-morning, up to lunchtime, then you start to dip. Then obviously normally you after you've had lunch or you've had a break, it picks up, and then depending how well you're feeling, how focused you are, and your personal individual performance style, then as the day goes on you may drift down. What's quite interesting, of course, is that many of us find ourselves doing quite a lot of our work either because of time pressures during the day or other distractions or because of the simple workload, is actually we find ourselves doing quite a lot of business late in the day. And Peter and I were talking about this morning. I used to make a point of doing an hour or two on a Sunday night, and the idea of that was I could clear my deck from the previous week. I would respond to all the emails that needed a response, and basically my rationale was all the people who emailed me or left me messages or whatever, I'd dump it all back to them. And so then on Monday morning it was their problem to deal with, and I had a lovely clear deck so I could hit the ground running on Monday morning. Now, some of you are probably familiar with that, but the problem now is they all bloody reply on Sunday night. So actually, instead of clearing the decks for Monday morning, actually by 10 o'clock on Monday night, probably the situation's worse than it was when I'd done a couple of hours early evening. So these are the sort of scenarios we encounter. Obviously, some people are very good. I was talking to a lady who works entirely from home recently, and she said in the school holidays she just gets up at 5 to get stuff done before the children are up and about. And I suspect probably if they're teenagers, then you can get quite a lot done before they're up and about. And indeed, I was talking to her then about, well, what about when they're all away at school? Don't you find that the room's very quiet or the house is quiet and you don't have that interaction with the work colleagues you would have in the office? And this particular lady said, well, actually, my children are 5, 7 and 8, and frankly, a silent house is just my idea of bliss, because I only get it when they're at school and I'm working at home. So we all respond differently to this. We all have different capabilities on management and training and experience of time management. Some of us are very good and very focused, some of us aren't. And so that's the when you want thing, but actually the how you want, obviously this is becoming a real issue now with smartphones, with Blackberries or Crackberries as everybody calls them. And this t-shirt I only have one iPad, but there is one real problem of course. How many are Apple users of some sort, can I just ask? It's a bit scary, isn't it? Because they have this sort of almost live attachment. There is the thing that's really clever that Apple have done, have actually found a way to engage people way beyond what it physically is. And so we just love to use them. And you've only got to be sitting on a train or on an aeroplane or anything. that everybody starts to use them. And iPads is a big topic for us. I don't know if anybody, how many of you are actually using iPads within your business at the moment? Just one. Well, they are coming one way or another. Originally, probably 18 months ago, iPads were sort of the SME owner's toy. They weren't very much in the large organisations. They're starting to come quite fast, and they are presenting monumental issues, as you can imagine. Because tablets are great, as we'll be talking in a minute, for a couple of minutes here and there, but actually, if you're going to be using it all day, or for any lengths of time, there's not a lot you can actually do, because even if you use a Bluetooth keyboard, which rather defeats the object, but actually does work pretty well, you still can't attach a mouse to it. So you're still using the finger on the screen to do the moving around and all the other things, the gestures that the Apple uses. So all of these issues are just moving way beyond the sort of things that we're currently seeing in the office. And there's some really interesting research called Boomers and Millennials. I keep wanting to call it Bloomers and Millennials, but Boomers and Millennials by Orangebox, the seating and furniture manufacturer. And they are now saying that the millennial generation, which are those who sort of came of age at the turn of the millennium, so those who are now in their sort of late 20s, early 30s, and the ones coming up behind them are regarding email as an old-fashioned form of communication. Because they're BBMing, they're tweeting, they're actually doing MSN chat or whatever their internal corporate messaging is. And so that will present all sorts of other issues. But the good news is we don't have to worry about that today because it's on the way. It's just something for you to go away fretting about at the end of the day. We'll address the current situation. One quick mention of a freebie. Some of you may know our posture guidance, which is the website ergo.info. We've now got a mobile version. So if from any smartphone you go to ergo.info, it gives you posture guidance for computer users, including some laptop stuff. So moving on then to the where you want. Well, obviously there are all sorts of different places, and this is one of the problems that we do quite often encounter. That when you're looking, and you'll all be familiar with this, when you actually have a workstation in the office that you're monitoring and tracking, if it's a desktop, even if the user's not there, you've got a pretty good idea about how good or bad the potential is of their workstation. You won't know about their sitting posture, you won't know whether they're slouching, but you will have quite a good idea about whether the layout potentially is reasonably good. The problem with laptops and with all of this smart working stuff is you're not there to watch them, and that's a really difficult thing because obviously your duty of care and your responsibilities don't go away, but actually your ability to have any idea of just how they're being used is all a bit, it's potentially a major concern. And obviously we've all been on trains and planes and seen people use them. We actually offer products that help to slightly enhance the ergonomics, although you're pretty constrained on trains and planes. But quite an interesting one, I was at a seminar in the States a couple of years ago where we were talking about road warriors, as they were calling them, they're mobile users, and this guy was having a bit of a rant. He said all these coffee shops, he said Starbucks and people are all just dishing out free Wi-Fi everywhere, but they give no thought to how long people actually will sit and use their Wi-Fi in Starbucks, and the tables are all the wrong height and the seats aren't right. And then he sort of ranted a bit, and then he said, okay, let's take a 5-minute break, just get up and stretch, introduce yourselves to the people around you. And I turned to the lady next to me and said, so where are you from? She said, I'm from Starbucks head office in Seattle, which was, I thought was, but it's interesting that they were looking at their offices, and maybe they will in due course give some thought to it. But obviously all of these places are really, effectively, it is everywhere. And so that's obviously a major concern. So we're back over to Peter now to talk about some of the actual financial benefits and the calculations.